Chapter 1. The Hook. A boy in a one-bedroom Bronx apartment. 4 kids sharing a single room. Parents who fled persecution in Belarus and spent every dollar before it was earned. No fashion training, no connections. A last name so aggressively Jewish that classmates made a sport of mocking it. You would not look at Ralph Lifshitz in 1950 and think, there goes the man who will build a $10 billion empire and define American style for half a century. But that's exactly what happened. He sold ties from a single drawer in the Empire State Building. Ties the entire fashion world told him were wrong. He walked out of a deal with Bloomingdale's when they told him to change those ties. He twice nearly lost his company entirely, and he ended up dressing presidents, movie stars, and Olympic athletes while becoming one of the wealthiest designers in history. How?
The answer is simpler than you'd expect, and it starts with a kid staring at movie screens in the Bronx, not watching the stories, watching the clothes. Chapter 2. The Bronx. The year is 1939, October 14th. Ralph Lifshitz is born in the Bronx, New York, the youngest of 4 children. His parents, Frank and Frida, are Ashkenazi Jewish immigrants from Pinsk, Belarus. Frank paints houses. Frida stretches every dollar until it screams. 4 children share one room. There are no luxuries. There is barely enough. But here's the thing about Ralph that nobody in that apartment quite understands yet. While his siblings see poverty, Ralph sees an exit strategy, and it's playing on every movie screen in the neighborhood. Cary Grant in a perfectly tailored suit, Fred Astaire gliding across the screen, Katharine Hepburn in boots and jodhpurs. Most kids his age are watching the plot. Ralph is cataloging the wardrobe. To him, those clothes aren't costume. They're proof. Proof that what you wear can transport you out of a one-bedroom apartment and into a completely different life. By 12 years old, he saved enough from odd jobs to buy his own 3-piece suit. He walks through the Bronx wearing it like armor. His older brother Jerry would later say Ralph had a natural affinity for putting himself together, that he just had style. A kid named Calvin Klein, who grows up nearby, notices the same thing. They will spend the next 5 decades as rivals. In 1955, Ralph and his brother legally changed their last name to Lauren. Some say it's inspired by Lauren Bacall, another Bronx kid who reinvented herself. Others say it was simply chosen because it sounded like somewhere Ralph wanted to belong. Either way, it's his first act of deliberate self-creation. It won't be his last. Chapter 3. The Drawer in the Empire State Building. The year is 1967. Ralph Lauren is 28 years old, married, broke, and living in an apartment under the L train in Manhattan. The trains shake the walls every few minutes. He and Ricky have nothing. No savings, no safety net. He's been working for a tie manufacturer called Beau Brummel, and he goes to the company president with an idea. Let him design his own line of ties. Wider than standard, luxurious fabrics, sold under his own label. The president tells him, the world isn't ready for Ralph Lauren. Ralph takes it as a compliment. He borrows $50,000. He works out of a single drawer in a showroom at the Empire State Building. One drawer, that's it. He designs the ties himself, makes deliveries personally, pitches stores across Manhattan. The ties are 4 inches wide at a time when skinny is in. They're made from opulent materials when cheap polyester dominates. They are the exact opposite of what everyone else is selling. He names the brand Polo. He has never played the sport. He has never been near a match. But the name conjures images of weekend estates and aristocracy. And Ralph isn't selling ties. He's selling access to a world. Then Bloomingdale's calls.
They love the ties. They want them prominently displayed. There are just two conditions. Make the ties narrower and remove the Polo label. Replace it with Bloomingdale's. Standard practice, they assure him. Ralph is 28 years old. He's been selling from a drawer for months. This is the shot. And he says no. He walks out. He would later tell Wall Street analysts, "Had I changed that tie, I would not be here today." 6 months later, Bloomingdale's calls back. They can't find ties like his anywhere else. They want them. The width, the fabric, the Polo label. All of it. Ralph's way. 6 months after that, his ties generate $500,000 in sales. And in 1969, Bloomingdale's gives him something unprecedented. His own boutique inside their store. The first shop within a shop dedicated to a single designer in American retail history. The kid pressing his nose against department store windows now has his own room inside the most prestigious one in New York. Chapter 4. The Empire and the First Near Death. Ralph is flying. 1970, he wins his first Coty Award, the fashion industry's highest honor, 3 years after selling from a drawer. The same year, he launches the iconic mesh polo shirt in 17 colors. The line is, "Every team has its color. Polo has 17. But here's what the awards don't show. Ralph almost blows the whole thing. Orders are pouring in faster than the company can handle. He's focused on design, on vision, not on inventory management or shipping logistics. Vendors aren't getting paid. Customers aren't getting product. The company is hemorrhaging money. Ralph makes 2 decisions that save him. First, he takes $150,000, his entire life savings, and injects it directly into the company. Second, he recruits Peter Strom as a business partner, giving him 10% equity, and switches from direct manufacturing to licensing deals. Strom brings the operational discipline Ralph doesn't have. Ralph keeps designing. The company survives. The lesson Ralph learned that year: talent builds the brand, discipline keeps it alive. In 1971, he opens his first standalone store on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. No American designer has ever done this before. And the same year, the polo player emblem appears for the first time, on a women's tailored shirt. That tiny logo on horseback will become one of the most recognized symbols in the world. By 1974, Hollywood is calling. Director Jack Clayton asks Ralph to design costumes for The Great Gatsby, Robert Redford, 1920s glamour, the whole deal. Ralph designs a custom pink suit specifically for Redford's J. Gatsby. The film becomes a cultural phenomenon. 3 years later, Diane Keaton wears his clothes throughout Annie Hall. Ralph Lauren is no longer just a fashion brand. It's American mythology with a price tag. Chapter 5. The Empire at Full Scale. The 1980s. Ralph Lauren is everywhere. His suits are the uniform of Wall Street. His polo shirts are worn by country club golfers and hip-hop artists simultaneously, and that's not an accident. He uses black male models like Tyson Beckford in campaigns that put African-American men in spaces luxury fashion had always reserved for white elites. Quietly revolutionary, rarely acknowledged. By 1983, he expands into home furnishings, pillows, bed linens, furniture, and yes, paint. Over 400 hues. Some people think he's lost his mind, but Ralph understands something his critics don't. His customers aren't buying products, they're buying a fantasy. And a fantasy has to live in your home, not just your closet. In 1986, he buys the Rhinelander Mansion on Madison Avenue, a Gilded Age masterpiece from 1898 that had become a shell. He spends months restoring it, using 82,000 square feet of Honduran mahogany. When it reopens as his flagship store, Women's Wear Daily chairman John Fairchild calls it the best boutique in America, probably the world. By 1997, consumers are spending $5 billion a year on Ralph Lauren products. On June 12, 1997, Ralph Lauren Corporation goes public on the New York Stock Exchange, the largest listed clothing company in the market. A man who started with $50,000 borrowed from a tie manufacturer now presides over a publicly traded empire, retaining most of the voting shares. He controls every creative decision. This is still his company. For now. Chapter 6. The Crisis. By 2015, the same strategies that built the empire are quietly destroying it. 26 different licensing deals mean Ralph Lauren products are being made by outside companies with varying quality standards. Outlet stores are everywhere, and nothing kills luxury faster than ubiquity. Department stores like Macy's, which account for 11% of total revenue, are struggling as consumers shift online. Stock price drops 40% in 2015, another 20% in 2016. Revenue slides from $7.6 billion to $7.4 billion. The whispers start. Is Ralph Lauren finished? On September 29, 2015, Ralph does something that shocks the entire industry. He steps down as CEO. He stays as executive chairman and chief creative officer, but hands operational control to Stefan Larsson, former global president of Old Navy. It lasts 20 months. Officially, they disagree on how to execute the turnaround. Unofficially, Ralph cannot let go of the brand he built from a single drawer. This is his identity, his life's work, his name on the door. Larsson is gone by May 2017. Ralph finds the right partner in Patrice Louvet, a Procter & Gamble veteran. But Louvet's contract contains an unusual clause. Ralph retains final say on all brand and creative decisions. Louvet runs the business. Ralph protects the soul. It works. Louvet pulls back from outlet stores, reducing off-price presence by 40%, reduces inventory by 16%, closes underperforming locations, invests in e-commerce, stops chasing trends and doubles down on classics, polo shirts, cable sweaters, the flag sweater, items that sell year after year regardless of what's happening on runways. By 2024, annual revenues reach $6.6 billion. Gross margins expand 190 basis points. The stock more than doubles from its 2016 lows. Over 5 million new customers added in a single year, many of them the children of people who grew up wearing polo. The brand that almost died is now stronger, leaner, and more focused than it's been in decades. Chapter 7. The Legacy. Ralph Lauren today has a net worth of approximately $12 billion. The company generates over $6 billion annually on every continent. Hundreds of stores worldwide. The Polo Player logo recognized instantly from Manhattan to Tokyo. He dressed Nancy Reagan and Melania Trump, Robert Redford and Kanye West. He designed Team USA's uniforms at multiple Olympics. He was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II, the first American designer to receive that honor. He owns a car collection worth over $350 million, a 1962 Ferrari 250 GTO among them, a 17,000-acre ranch in Colorado, estates that embody the exact lifestyle he spent decades selling to other people. But here's what I keep coming back to. When critics asked how a Jewish kid from the Bronx could do preppy clothes, Ralph's answer was always the same. Does it have to do with class and money? It has to do with dreams. That's it. That's the whole thing. Ralph didn't have a trust fund. He didn't have design school. He didn't have connections or privilege or a head start of any kind. What he had was an unshakable belief that the clothes he was imagining deserved to exist in the world, and the nerve to walk away from every deal that required him to make them smaller. He walked out of Bloomingdale's.
He saved his company with his life savings. He fired a CEO who threatened his vision. He turned a single drawer in the Empire State Building into one of the most valuable fashion empires in history. A boy who shared a room with 3 brothers in the Bronx built something so durable that it's now being worn by his customers' grandchildren. That's not a rags to riches story. That's something rarer. That's a man who refused, at every single decision point, to become a smaller version of what he imagined. If you want to see what that refusal looked like when it was applied to an entirely different industry, an industry that thought it had Ralph Lauren's playbook figured out and got buried anyway, that story is next.